All right, let's talk about Frozen. Back in 2013, Disney put out an animated movie that wasn't just a hit. It became a full-blown cultural blizzard. We're talking about a film that went from a big success at the box office to a genuine culture-defining global force. So how did that happen? Let's peel back the layers of ice and figure it out. To really get a sense of the scale here, you just have to look at this number. That's $1.28 billion. That is the insane worldwide box office gross for just the first movie. It made it one of the highest grossing animated films of all time. This thing wasn't just a movie, it was an absolute financial juggernaut. And that brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. How did one single movie manage to kick off such an unstoppable global phenomenon? We're going to dig into the story, the music, and the massive industry it built to find the answer. But, those record-breaking numbers, they don't really explain the obsession, do they? To understand that, we have to look past the box office and dive right into the story itself. So we all know the classic Disney formula, right? Princess meets a handsome prince, it's love at first sight, and he ends up saving the day. Well, Frozen took that playbook and just completely flipped it on its head. The charming prince, turns out he's a manipulative villain. And the climactic act of true love, it wasn't a romantic kiss. It was a moment of sacrifice between two sisters. That was a total game changer. And this quote from a Reddit user just nails why it worked so well. Other movies had made fun of Disney tropes before, but they usually came off as a bit cynical. Frozen managed to mess with our expectations while still feeling incredibly sincere and heartfelt. It just told a stronger, more emotional story, and that genuine feeling is what really hooked people. And sitting right at the heart of that emotional story is one single element that didn't just define the movie, it literally rewrote it. And I think you know what I'm talking about. Okay, this is one of the coolest parts of the whole Frozen story. Originally, Elsa was written as the villain of the movie, just like in the old Snow Queen fairy tale. But the songwriters Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, they saw something totally different in her. In just one day, they wrote Let It Go, not as some villain song, but as this huge, powerful moment of release for a scared girl who was finally embracing who she was. And that song was so powerful, so transformative, that the second the director Jennifer Lee heard it, she knew the entire movie had to change. That one piece of music is what turned Elsa from a flat villain into this complex, relatable hero, and it basically redefined the entire plot of the film. That theme of self-acceptance was so powerful, and it's a huge reason why the movie's impact went way, way beyond the theater. It became a cultural touchstone that all these different groups saw themselves in really personal ways. I mean, think about it. The lyrics are all about hiding your true self and then finally letting go and breaking free. For so many in the LGBTQ+ community, it became this incredible coming out anthem. For people with disabilities or on the autism spectrum, it was a story about self-affirmation. And for millions of others, it was just this universal message about owning your power and not worrying about what other people think. But the film wasn't universally loved. While a lot of people were praising its progressive ideas, some academic critics, like Dr. Anna S. Rogers here, suggested that maybe it just created a new, more subtle stereotype. The princess who thinks she's independent, but in the end still kind of needs a guy like Kristoff to help her out. And there were other critiques too. Some pointed out that both Anna and Elsa still fit a very traditional model of thin, white beauty. And then, coming from the complete other direction, some conservative commentators were calling the movie propaganda because they saw its themes as a challenge to more traditional family values. All the conversations, the debates, the parodies, it all just fed the phenomenon. And that brings us to our final layer, how one little movie became this unstoppable, multi-billion-dollar global industry. And this thing was no flash in the pan. When the sequel came out 6 years later, it proved that people were even hungrier for more. Frozen 2 actually made more money than the original, which is wild. It was a clear signal that this wasn't just a beloved movie anymore. It was an enduring cultural dynasty. And the films themselves are just the tip of the iceberg. Disney built a massive commercial empire around Arendelle. We're talking theme park rides, a huge Broadway musical, and a merchandise machine so powerful that, at its peak, something like 40 Frozen dolls were being sold every single minute. And the franchise's growth wasn't just about money. It was also about technology. For Frozen 2, the animators had to develop brand new tech just to create the stunningly complex visuals for the Enchanted Forest. especially those incredible scenes where it's on fire with magic. The artistry and innovation just kept pushing forward. Ultimately, the success of Frozen sent a crystal-clear message to the entire industry. It proved that complex, female-driven stories could be massive, four-quadrant hits that everyone would go see. You can see its influence in a whole wave of films that came after it, from Moana to Encanto. It really changed the kinds of stories that get made in Hollywood. So, from a subversive fairy tale to a record-smashing anthem and a global franchise, Frozen's legacy is just undeniable. But with a third movie already announced, the story isn't over yet. So the real question is, what's next? What new conversations is it going to start? And how is it going to continue to shape our culture?